Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Corner. I am your host here, Philip, and in today's episode, we're going to be discussing probably one of the biggest gaming and animated films that have hit the box office recently, and technically, I think to this date, is the highest grossing film of 2025 so far, which is definitely surprising given what we are about to talk about. And if you haven't guessed it already, we are going to be talking about the Minecraft movie today. That is right. All of the social media trends and all of the hype around this movie is finally going to be discussed. I had the opportunity of seeing this movie myself, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I mean, it is definitely one of those movies where it is a stupid funny movie. Like, the acting, the story, everything is terrible, but you just have so much fun with the movie, and you're constantly laughing, and you're constantly smiling, and it's just a great movie. Um, and if you grew up, playing the game, when you grew up with Minecraft, or you're just a fan of, Jack Black or Jason Momoa, you're gonna have a really good time with this movie. And I think that's how this movie should be portrayed, as one where you kind of just sit and you relax and you just enjoy yourself, and you kind of just like turn your brain off and you just enjoy the movie for what it is. You don't deep dive it, you don't analyze it too much, because that's exactly what it's not meant to be. It's supposed to be meant for kids, for fans of the video game, and just to have a great time. Um, and I think a lot of people are going to the movies with that exact mindset. Um, Obviously, some people are taking it a little bit out of proportion. You have a lot of teenagers, a lot of social media trends where people are just absolutely wrecking theaters and throwing popcorn and causing a disturbance for people that are actually trying to enjoy the movie. So with all the clout and all the hype around the movie, obviously there's been a couple of negatives. And those people just need to kind of grow up and get a life. On the other hand, obviously such the huge social media presence with all of the different memes and the jokes and stuff like that has really highlighted this movie and has definitely helped it out. I mean, I think not only succeed with some critic and audience scores, but then also with the box office as well. So you can kind of see like the power of like social media, but you could also see the reverse effect, and obviously, again, you don't want a whole entire theater of preteens, screaming chicken jockey and then just throwing like all their food, their drinks and everything, and then people have to stop the movie, and then attendants have to come in and like warn them or just like stop the movie like outright. And it's been bad. I mean, from what I've understood, it's been it hasn't been the greatest. Luckily, when I saw it, it was fairly early in the day, so I didn't really have a huge crowd of people. So it definitely made the movie experience um, a little bit more enjoyable, obviously. But yeah, we are going to be talking about the Minecraft movie today. So obviously, if you guys have been keeping up with the podcast and with the channel, you know that I just released two episodes back to back. I did a breakdown and an analysis on the live action Snow White movie, as well as the Nova King movie, which came out last week. So if you guys haven't watched that video, please go check it out. So I wanted to kind of catch up with the podcast a little bit. Obviously, there's been a couple of things going on in my life that's just not necessarily bad, but I've just been fairly busy. I mean, I have recently gotten a promotion, at the retail store that I work at. So I'm now a manager. So it's more of a full-time position. So it comes with a lot more hours. So I don't have too many days off to myself, unfortunately. So I wanted to kind of preload a couple of episodes. So I had some content to put out for you guys. And then, obviously on my day off today, I wanted to sit down and record an episode so I can kind of keep on track with, you know, what's coming out and, what is out, and just, kind of stay relevant and, put content out for you guys. So I think the next episode, don't quote me on it, but I think the next episode is probably going to cover season one of Daredevil Born Again, because I believe the season finale is Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday, which would be the 15th, I think. So if that's the case, I will probably be doing a breakdown and just a review of season one for the next episode. There aren't too many movies that are coming out that I might see. I mean, in the event that there is, obviously I'll be doing episodes on those. But that was the next one I was thinking about, so that is probably going to be the one that I'm going to be doing the next episode on. But obviously that's what the social medias are for, so follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the Nerd Corner, and obviously when the episodes post, you'll see what I did the episode on, and then you can check it out on YouTube at the Nerd Corner, where this lovely podcast makes its home. So yeah, like I said, follow us on those socials, and then follow us on YouTube as well. But yeah, without a doubt, we are going to be getting into today's episodes. Like I said, we are covering the Minecraft movie today. This movie came out last weekend, so it came out April 4th of 2025. Obviously, the content rating is PG. The genre is all over the place, action, adventure, comedy, family. It was directed by Jared Hess, and in case we're wondering who he is and maybe other projects he's worked on, he is also well known for Nacho Libre, I believe, as well as Napoleon Dynamite. So he definitely has a talent of kind of directing those types of like turn your brain off like funny movies. Um, so especially because that's what they were going for with this movie, he was probably the perfect choice to be a director. Um, so yeah, like I said, it came out April 4th, so it's been out for about a week now, I would say. Like I think technically uh, on April 11th was about a week. So it's been out for about a week now. Taking a look at the cast and crew real quick. Obviously, we'll see some notable names here. We have Jason Momoa playing a character known as Garrett. We have Jack Black playing Steve. Sebastian Eugene Hansen playing Henry. We have Emma Myers playing Natalie. Danielle Brooks playing Dawn. And we have Jennifer Coolidge playing Vice Principal Marlene. So those are just kind of the main people that you kind of need to focus on, the ones that are in the film, the most and stuff like that. So obviously some big names, I know like Jason Momoa, Jack Black, Emma Myers, they've all been in, Emma Myers is from the Wednesday show on Netflix. Obviously everybody knows who Jason Momoa and Jack Black is, as well as Jennifer Coolidge. So, we got some big names. They were able to like kind of like wrangle together for this movie, and the chemistry that they all have is absolutely fantastic. I mean, that's definitely one of the highlights of the film, that they all have a very good mindset and a very good cohesion with one another, especially Jason Momoa and Jack Black. They're just absolutely hilarious together, and they really make the movie shine. Like their relationship and their dynamic the whole entire film is really funny. Um, so yeah, after going over just some of the basic little content things as well as the cast, now we're gonna kind of dive into some of the scores. So this is where it's gonna get like a little, I wouldn't say tricky, but it's gonna get a little messy, because obviously we all know how the critics react and how they rate projects, and then obviously we all know how the audience reacts and how they create projects. So there's always a couple that we like to look at. Right now in front of me, I only have the IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes scores, so we'll just be looking at those two. So IMDb for this film has a 6.1 out of 10. So on average, looking at that kind of like, fraction, that's about an average score, right? It's not the worst thing since sliced bread, but it's definitely a lot better than Snow White. So, but IMDb is definitely giving it that average score, which is exactly where it needs to be honest. Rotten Tomatoes, however, obviously takes it a step further. And this is where I kind of want to do a little bit of a deeper dive, because this is one of the better examples of the difference between the critic scores and the audience scores. So according to Rotten Tomatoes, obviously we have the critics giving it a tomato meter of a rotten score of 46%. However, according to the popcorn meter, we have an audience score of about 87%. So, I mean, obviously that is total night and day difference. Because again, we're seeing who this movie is made for, why people are going to see this movie. Obviously, the critics are just going to see this movie to do their job, so they're obviously not going to like it unless any of these critics played Minecraft. So these critics are going to the movie for a specific reason, and then the audience is going for a totally different reason. So it would make a lot of sense why, the scores would be completely different. Just to kind of give you a little bit of consensus, wrapped up critical review, they say, substantially a film about celebrating creativity, a Minecraft movie provides a colorful sandbox for Jack Black and Jason Momoa to amusingly romp around in a story curiously constructed from conventional building blocks. So, even though they gave it a poor score, that wasn't really a bad consensus from the critics. That's basically exactly what the point of the movie is. Um, However, looking at how the audience portrays it, they say beyond being a fertile meme factory, a Minecraft movie proves how much fun two dudes with beards can bring to the sandbox. I mean, that's probably the perfect explanation for it right there. So again, you could just totally see the differences between the two scores and how they do it. And then, like I said, I think looking at this movie, you want to pay attention to more how the audience is portraying it and how they're receiving it versus the critics, because we all know that a movie like this is not going to be loved by the critics, but it is definitely going to be loved by the fans. And I mean, of course, I'm sure there's some people that go in there and they're like, this is the stupidest movie in the world. Like, I mean, working at the movies, I've heard people or parents come out and they're like, this is the stupidest movie in the world. But then the kids come out and they're like, oh, I really enjoyed it. And that shows the whole point of the movie is that this movie is made for kids, people that, are playing Minecraft. They grew up with Minecraft. It's centered around those people. Parents are not going to enjoy this movie. Normal moviegoers are not going to enjoy this movie. It's meant for a specific demographic, and if you are not part of that demographic, you're not going to enjoy the film. So, last but not least, before we move on to kind of the pros and cons, I just want to kind of touch about the box office, because this has been extremely important, obviously, and has a lot of people kind of shocked. Let me just see if I could pull up a better article. So the Minecraft movie had a budget of about $150 million, right? So, pretty standard for a film like this. So far, the movie's only been out for about a week, and so far, box office currently, it is at about $550.5 million. So it's already on its way. Obviously, it's already surpassed $500 million. Um, Depending on how long the trend pushes and how long this movie is out, I wouldn't be surprised if it made like, almost $750 million. Like I could totally see this movie making like anywhere from like 700 to $750 million easily. Do I think it has the potential to reach a billion? I mean, I think if people are so gun ho about it that they just, the memes just keep coming and they constantly go see it. Yes, it might have the potential to reach $1 billion. But, I think, unfortunately, I think as the month of April goes on, it is going to die down a little bit. So it's not going to be as popular. So I don't think it's going to reach that billion, but I definitely see it reaching like, I think lowest it will go is at least like 650 million. I think highest it can go is at least like 750 million. So it still is making a very impressive amount of money, especially for the reviews that it's gotten, and just nobody, this is totally out of left field. Nobody thought that it'd be making this much money because of how bad it is. But I think they kind of underestimated the community around Minecraft, and how, and then you have the community, and then you have social media, and those two factors just obviously created this whole entire craze for this movie, and that was the most important thing for this movie to succeed, obviously. So now that we've kind of discussed like all the statistics and all the boring stuff, now we're going to get into some of the bread and butter. We're going to go over some of the pros and cons. So we always like to go over the cons here, just because we always like to save the best for last, right? So, here are a couple of cons that, people overall have said about the film, and, this goes for both audience and critics at the same time. So, one of the cons is a campy and goofy tone. So, some viewers feel the film is too silly at times, which might not appeal to those expecting a more serious adventure. Again, if you are going into this film and you do not know what Minecraft is, you've never played the game, you're just literally going to see this movie because you just want to go see a movie. It's not going to make sense to you, right? I mean, the whole point of Minecraft is supposed to be a campy and a goofy tone and feel. This is not supposed to be a serious adventure. This is supposed to be a world where creativity shines and you can make anything out of blocks and you could do whatever you want. So for those of the people that were expecting a more serious adventure, I mean, yes, they could have done different storylines, they could have done different characters and made it a little bit more serious, but that's not exactly what this movie was going for. So again, With this specific con, we're going to take this with a grain of salt because, again, Minecraft is built more on creativity and freedom and not seriousness. So, kind of expecting a more serious adventure from Minecraft is a little naive. So, we're definitely taking this with a grain of salt. Another one is some loose storytelling. So while the film avoids overwhelming lore dumps, it sometimes leans too much into randomness, which can make emotional moments feel less impactful. Honestly, again, we're taking this one with a grain of salt because there weren't that many too much emotional moments in this film. I think they really wanted to let the creativity and just the atmosphere of Minecraft shine through on this film. So they kept the story and the narrative very short and simple. Right, it was extremely easy to follow. It didn't take away from any of the lore building or the world building, and that's exactly what they needed to do. They wanted to showcase that they could make the world of Minecraft come alive, and by keeping the story nice and simplistic and casual, it allowed them to lean into those random moments, lean into those like funny moments and stuff like that, and that's what really made the film shine. So again, obviously, each character kind of has some sort of backstory here and there, but the movie's purpose is not to focus on the fact that Jason Momoa's character is in debt and is at risk of losing his business, and he wants to collect some diamonds while he's in the overworld to save his business. You know, um, I think they do a good enough job just kind of letting Minecraft breathe and just showing the creativity and the fun and randomness of it. And I mean, obviously, they don't focus a whole lot on those serious emotional moments, but again, that's the story was very simple and casual. So you didn't expect them to really. Um, you didn't really expect them to kind of like focus on those moments. So again, we're taking this one with a grain of salt for sure. Um, Another one that I can kind of see, some understanding for is some mixed CGI representation or reception. So some fans were skeptical about the film's CGI heavy approach, though reviews suggest it works better than expected. So again, there's always a fine line that you walk between like CGI and like props. Like how much CGI do you use before it becomes like too CGI? Especially with a world like Minecraft, how do you make a world that is all cubic and like just kind of in cube form? How do you make that come alive or look as alive as possible? And honestly, at first, when the first trailers came out for the movie, I was like, this looks like really stupid. I was like, I don't know. But after seeing the film, I mean, they did a really good job, like portraying like some of the mobs and the characters and the animals from the Minecraft world. I think they did a fantastic job with the animals. With the pigs, the cows, the llamas, sheeps, wolves, the bees. I think they did a fantastic job. Even some of the mobs, like the skeletons, zombies, spiders, the creepers, even the Endermen. I mean, the Ghastlies, the Piglins. I think they did a really good job, especially the villagers and the Iron Golems. I mean, they did a really good job representing those different groups. I mean, yes, of course they're gonna look a little weird, because it's weird to kind of see like the cubic animated, box form of Minecraft, like kind of put in the CGI and look like real life. But I think they did a really good job portraying the world and making the world come to life. And it was really cool to see like what Minecraft would have figuratively looked like in real life. Like how the materials would have looked. How the redstone would have looked. How like I said, like even like the mobs and the creatures and stuff like that, like how it would have looked. And I think at the end of the day, the CGI was definitely the way to go, and I think they did a phenomenal job with it. Um, but I could also understand why some people might be upset. They might not like certain designs or the way creatures look. So I could totally understand that as well. Finally, we have one that's pretty simple, and kind of goes upon what I was saying for the first couple. Obviously, this movie is not going to be for everyone. So if you're not a fan of Minecraft or Hess's offbeat style, which is the director, the movie might feel a bit too chaotic. And this is exactly what I was talking about before. If you are not a fan of Minecraft, if you are not a fan of this director, you are not going to like this film. It is not for you. You're going to think it's a waste of time. You're going to think it's stupid. It was really bad. So if you're not a fan of Minecraft and you are not a fan of the director, just do not go see this film because you're not going to enjoy yourself. And that goes without really explaining, to be honest. So now we're going to get to some of the pros and close it out on a high note. So some of the pros that people, found while watching this movie was, one, it captures the spirit of the game. So the film embraces Minecraft's pixelated aesthetic while adding cinematic depth, making it visually engaging. So again, this kind of goes with the whole CGI reception. So if you really enjoyed the CGI and how they portrayed the mobs and the Minecraft world and the creatures, um, it really does embrace the game. Seeing Steve's stash, seeing all the references to all the houses that he's built, from the typical like dirt hut, to the most sophisticated in the world, kind of showing like how a typical Minecraft player will progress. They'll start out by building like a dirt hovel, and then they'll end up putting hours into the game and then building like an aesthetically pleasing castle, you know um so it definitely did capture the spirit of the game. And a lot of the references and Easter eggs that they added, it really made the world come alive. And it really it really made it feel like you were watching somebody's like creative world build, and you were just watching these characters like play in their own world basically. So it definitely did a good job of showing that. um, Another point that people found was the character driven storytelling. So instead of just focusing on the action, the movie builds strong relationships between characters, making it feel more personal. This is kind of what I was talking about when I introduced the cast and crew. I think all the characters that were in this film have a pretty good dynamic with each other. And again, because the story is very simplistic and straightforward, it allows time for them to focus on building those relationships, kind of exploring the characters and stuff like that. There's a little bit of action here and there, but again, it's more about like a casual adventure story. So it allows these characters times to get to know each other and kind of build their personality and arc with each other. Um, so I definitely think this helped the movie. And like I said, interactions between Jack Black and Jason Momoa were fantastic. So I mean, again, that's just an example of how strong these relationships became. And how good they were. Um, Another one that people found obviously was humor and charm. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the character-driven storytelling. So obviously, directed by Jared Hess, who's known for Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre, the film leans into quirky humor, making it unexpectedly entertaining. So again, this is kind of like what we were going off of before. Obviously, the dynamic between like Jack Black and Jason Momoa is hilarious. Jennifer Coolidge and her little storyline with the villager is extremely funny. So again, the film definitely does bring a lot of laughter and a lot of humor to it, and I think people are going to definitely enjoy that. Um, the last 2 points that we have here are definitely good ones. We have some creative world building, which obviously the movie successfully translates Minecraft's open-ended gameplay into a structured yet imaginative adventure. So again, this kind of goes hand in hand with the first point. So obviously, they've done a really good job of bringing the world of Minecraft to life and kind of emphasizing that whole creative, you can build what you want, with your imagination mentality during the entire film. Um, and finally, last but not least, we do have some strong performances. So obviously, Jason Momoa and Jack Black bring energy and humor to their roles, making the film both fun for kids and adults. So again, they were really the two shining stars of this movie. Their dynamic and their energy makes people laugh. It brings people to the theaters. And again, their strong performances definitely piggybacks off of their relationship with one another. And it was just absolutely fantastic. Um, and that is going to be it, my friends. That is basically my breakdown and review of a Minecraft movie. Well, was it a excuse me, a Minecraft movie is what it's officially called. But that is going to be that. I can't speak. Hello. That is going to do it for today's episode. So thank you so much for coming back to another one of episode of the Nerd Corner, where I discussed the most recent installment into the video game world, which was a Minecraft movie. So again, after I saw it, I mean, if I'm looking at it from like a critical standpoint, I mean, this movie was at least like a 5 out of 10. Just because of the storytelling and just but I'm looking at it from a fan. I mean, I remember playing Minecraft on like the Xbox 360, when it first came out, and like building worlds with my friends and like role playing and doing all that stuff. So I'm definitely giving this movie a solid 9 out of 10 diamonds. We'll do that at diamonds. Because it definitely makes the world of Minecraft come alive. It brought out my inner child, and it was just such a fun movie. And I loved every second of it. So, um, but that being said, I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments below. Like I said, if you're wondering where you could find this lovely podcast, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at The Nerd Corner, as well as these episodes on YouTube at The Nerd Corner as well. So make sure you turn on those notifications, stay up to date, so you know when this lovely episode drops. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this wonderful episode where I discussed a Minecraft movie. I have some ideas for some future episodes. So, like I said, just follow those socials, turn on those notifications, and you'll see what I cook up and what I figure out. Um, there's a movie coming out, I think, next weekend called Sinners with Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld that I actually really want to see. I think it's gonna be really good. So far, it has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics. So I mean, that's obviously fantastic. I think it's going to be one of the bigger movies of the year for sure. So I would definitely love to do a review on that. Um, there's a movie that I think just came out recently called The Amateur with Rom. I forgot what his name is. Is it Robbie Malik? I think. Um, that actually looks pretty entertaining, so I might go see that. And like I said, there's a couple of shows that I would love to do some episodes on. So, like I said, just keep those notifications on. Yeah, until I see you guys again, I hope you have a great morning, great afternoon, great evening. Please be safe. Do not do anything stupid. Enjoy spring. Enjoy the daytime. Just enjoy life. All right. That's all I ask. So, just enjoy life, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye for now.